And I want to start by saying a little bit about what I mean by inner teacher. In the story that Linda shared, the author, Reverend Karen Anderson, is curious about what allows us to stay in discomfort, to attend to what is within us and act accordingly, rather than follow the more comfortable route of listening to outside voices urging us toward some unexamined norm. Some might call that thing in this story Marcy's conscience, or her intestinal fortitude, but especially as we witness Marcy learning in this story, many might say she was attending to her inner teacher. The wise teacher, sage, or mentor is an archetype, a recurring, deeply ingrained element of myth, legend, and fable so pervasive in our stories that it is widely thought to represent something fundamental to human experience and personality. So take a moment to notice. When I use the words wise teacher or sage, what image springs to mind? Do you see Gandalf or Dumbledore? Maybe Yoda or Obi-Wan? Maybe you see LeVar Burton or Rita Moreno or Mr. Hooper. Maybe Neil deGrasse Tyson or Ruth Bader Ginsburg. The sage is one of Carl Jung's 12 major archetypes, manifesting in an individual as they successfully mature, but also widely visible in the culture and throughout a person's lifetime. Joseph Campbell identifies the appearance of the mentor as an identifiable stage in the hero's journey, which he understood to be a kind of underlying form, maybe something like a template, but unconscious, giving rise to diverse legends and fables throughout history and across the globe. Significantly, Campbell used the hero's journey monomyth as a basis for comparing diverse religions and their scriptural stories, in which the wise teacher makes frequent appearance. And again, Campbell sees the wise teacher in myth and fable as representing something fundamental inside us, something about not only human experience, but also human personality. In other words, this figure is central to our storytelling and myth-making because we need them. While the importance of the figure of the inner teacher has been widely acknowledged by important thinkers over many centuries, by everyone from Socrates to Brené Brown, there are significant differences in how they conceive of it, especially in terms of where it resides or where it comes from. Many UUs know about the inner teacher through the beloved educator, Parker Palmer, raised in the Quaker tradition, who conceives of the wise teacher as a representation of the inner divine, a spiritual conception of it as innate to humans. Socrates, in contrast, who some credit with the first naming of this figure, thought of it as simply the sum total of his own learned wisdom, a more psychological conception of it as acquired. I think it's helpful to understand that we need not believe in God, that is, God the Father, or even God as something else altogether. We need not believe in God to appreciate the importance of the inner teacher. Theism is not antithetical to, but is also not necessary for, understanding this figure. And we can think of it as either innate to us or as acquired over time, or both. It puts me in mind of a friend, a UU, who, having begun a 12-step program and needing to describe her higher power to her group, decided to use her own Catholic confirmation name as the name for her higher power. I always thought this a beautiful representation of how the inner divine is both inherent and received. Maybe you're already acquainted with your inner teacher. Perhaps you are already fast friends, or maybe you have never imagined them. As part of our service today, I'd like to offer an exercise, a brief guided meditation to help you meet them or see them again. You can think of this meeting as a path to renewal, or just as an inward reflection of your life adventure, a way of representing yourself to yourself. If you would please just sit facing forward in your seat with your arms and legs in a relaxed position. Close your eyes, or if you prefer, lower your lids. to look at a spot on the floor or a seat back in front of you. Then please just pay attention to your breathing as you inhale and exhale. Notice for a moment how your breath sustains you, whether you are paying attention to it or not. To give gratitude for this natural rhythm of your life. We're going to take a little journey in our minds together, so I want you to know, if you should end up someplace you don't like, don't stay there. If that should happen, go somewhere else in your mind, someplace that makes you happy, or come on back to this room and open your eyes. Now, with eyes closed or lids lowered, picture a place of learning. It can be indoors or outside. It can be a place you know or a place of your imagination. It should be a place where you feel relatively free to be yourself. A place where you can share your imperfections and challenges. Now, picture in this place a teacher. They may be there already, or perhaps they'll be arriving shortly. They may be older or younger than you, someone you've known, living or dead, or someone of your imagination. They should be someone with whom you feel ready to learn. Introduce yourself to your teacher and let them know you are glad to be here in this place of learning together. Now let your teacher know that you are thinking about the season just passing and the season soon beginning. Might be a season of the year or a season of life. Take a moment to reflect on the season most recently behind you and what may be coming to you in the season ahead. Now ask your teacher for a word that will help guide you in the coming season. They might write it on a chalkboard, in the sand, or the snow, or whisper it in your ear. However they deliver it, once you have received your word, thank your teacher for this gift and hold it in your mind a moment. How does it resonate? Then thank your teacher for meeting you in this place. Know that you can return to this place of learning at any time you wish to visit with your teacher. Then when you're ready, recall this sanctuary. Feel the support of the seat beneath you. And open your eyes. So now, perhaps you've met your inner teacher or sage or mentor. Meditation is one way to reach this important figure, or in quiet reflection with others, perhaps like the conversation you've just had. And I imagine there are ample opportunities for such conversations here at UUSG. Other means, according to Palmer, include reflecting on poetry or stories from some of the great spiritual traditions that raise critical questions about our lives. Also journaling, walks in the woods, and all the ways that human beings have of becoming more reflective. As a lifelong UU, I have been doing a version of this meditation my whole life, since I was 6 years old. And I have led other UUs in this and other similar practices over the course of my life. And as I've done so, they've often reported to me significant learning experiences with other church members. Our young people, for example, often point to their religious education teachers, mentors, and other congregants they've encountered. My own inner teacher often appears to me as my grade school science teacher, Arita Taylor, who, as it happens, was also a UU at my home congregation. And our adults also find their inner teachers represented by those around them here at church. Indeed, I have heard from our RE teachers, my religious education teachers, more times than I can count, how much they learn from the students they are teaching. And this is hardly to be wondered at, as they deliberately put themselves in conversation with young people who bring so much wisdom to our discussions. This is sacred work, friends. What an honor it is to occupy the place of wise teacher in another's mind. Our congregations build very special relationships, perhaps most deliberately in our religious education and faith formation programs, but in many other places as well, bringing us wonderful gifts of learning and self-discovery. Maybe for some of us, especially for those of us who think of our beloved community as our higher power, or who think of God as love itself, our inner teachers collectively, in conversation with one another, are a good way to think about the holy, or the divine, or God. My inner teacher teaches me, but also, ultimately, you. Your inner teacher teaches you, but also, ultimately, me. When we learn to be quietly reflective with ourselves and one another, there is so much deep learning we can do. Together, we gather wisdom from within ourselves and from one another as we grow to become more loving. I want to close my words today with this important thought. We are always, in everything we do here, teaching one another about what it means to be Unitarian Universalist. Whether in or out of class, in worship or at coffee hour, in moments of public witness, or in our committee meetings, even at annual congregational meetings, we are teaching one another about our faith. May we proceed accordingly. May we tend to our inner teachers, our own and each other's, so that wisdom guides our experience here with one another and peace finds a home in us. May that wisdom help us to move through discomfort toward respect, compassion, kindness, and love. And may we find ourselves centered, grounded, and prepared to face together in our shared wisdom, whatever the future may hold.
Visit us at uusg.org.